Guys, it's your girl Diamond and welcome back to my channel. And today I'm going to speak about something that is, very sensitive. It's a sensitive topic, so trigger warning. I like to keep it real on here, guys. This is a topic and something that I experience, and the reason why I'm going to share it is because it's something that I always felt embarrassed about and I never liked to speak to anybody else about. And ignore my hair, guys. I'm still working on my... I'm tired, guys. Just ignore my hair. Yes, ignore my hair. So it's something that I've been going through quietly, silently for a long time. And I feel like if I share it on my channel, it might help a lot of people. And it's basically about sexual abuse and sexual assault as a child. So trigger warning for anybody that has experienced this. I just want to share this and let you guys know that you are not alone. You should never ever feel bad about your past, never ever feel bad about your story or what you experienced, because that's what makes you you. You don't have to feel embarrassed about it. I'm an old lady now, so I can literally share my story, but there's a lot of young girls who were like me growing up, and you letting certain things get in your way can affect your future. And I just feel like I went through sexual abuse as a child, and when I was growing up, going through sexual abuse, there was no support, there was no handouts, there were no freebies. It wasn't like, oh, this is how you get through it, this is how you get through life. It was basically just me going through sexual abuse, not knowing I was being abused, and just having to go through life and having to get over it and having to just like figure my way through life, figure my way out of life. There was no Santa Claus with a present, there was no fairy godmother, there was no millionaire, there was nobody that's going to change my life, there was no platform like YouTube or anything that gave me a voice. It was just basically me getting through life. And I know there's many girls who, if they didn't put themselves out there like the way I put myself out there, nobody would care. And that's how I feel. I genuinely feel like if I didn't put myself out there like the way I put myself out there, nobody will actually care about me. And that is genuine. I'll probably be like just sitting alone by myself, maybe overthinking about stuff that happened in my past. But I feel like social media has helped me to release a lot of things that I know it doesn't look that way, but it's helped me to like release a lot of anxiety that I would be feeling if I was by myself, like living by myself, or just it's not even just living by myself. I mean, it's just like not being on social media. I'll probably be filled with anxiety, constantly thinking about my past, constantly thinking about traumas, constantly feeling like a victim. But it's kind of how I feel like social media in a way helps me kind of get over feeling sad, depressed, loneliness, just like having like mental struggles. And I just feel like as a child I didn't really come to terms with it, and it's one thing that I said I would never talk to anybody about. But kind of over the years I kind of felt like, what is the point of, we're all gonna die one day, there's no point of keeping certain things and just like playing like mysterious girl. It's just silly, because it's like at the end of the day I'm gonna die with that in my grave. So whether or not that's a part of me, and just me sharing it allows other people to feel they're not alone, and to feel like, like shouldn't feel embarrassed about it. Because like I know it's so embarrassing it makes you feel like you're not strong, you don't have your own willpower and stuff like that. So basically growing up, I grew up in a rough area, and during growing up in that rough area, I was also always around like social workers, and social workers will come to my house and interview us, and sometimes I'll have to stay with the neighbours because there was a lot of domestic violence and stuff going on in my household, which I'm not going to talk about because obviously like, I've got family and I like to keep things private, but it's just I rather just share my own personal experience. So during that time when, police got involved and things got bad, my mum was moved to a different area for protection, and in that area I moved to a new school, made some new friends. And during that time when we moved after the domestic violence, my mum was raising a lot of kids on her own, so she found it a bit difficult to go to work and raise a lot of kids. So I think that struggle was a bit much for her, and she was having to work, having to feed over 5 kids by herself, you know, having to do a lot by herself, and she didn't get any help. And I would sometimes barely see her. So I grew up with a lot of childminders, and I would barely see my mum because she was always out work. She was working as a nurse, working as this, working as that. So she was always out, and I never barely got to see my mum. And then at the time when we were moved for protection, that's when my mum kind of was out of balance because she wasn't around to like take me to after school activities, to take me to school, to do this, to do that. So I kind of like grew up fast. And when I say I was in year 5, I was taking my younger sibling home. So it was just my other siblings were in secondary school, but me and my other sibling was in primary school. So I would take my sibling home. I was in year 5, year 6, and I'd take my sibling in year 3, year 4 home. And sometimes, obviously, like I was a child, I would get the key and would have to climb through the back garden to get into the house because obviously I would say the only time that I remember like being looked after by my parents was from year 3, but after year 4 I had to handle everything myself, like taking myself to school, getting on the bus by myself. So I already knew how to do all of that. So I must have been 7, 8 years old when I was taking myself home and all of that. So I kind of felt like an adult. I never had a child mentality. I never felt ever in my life. I don't know what it feels like to be a child. Like, I genuinely don't know what it feels like. I remember watching Rugrats and that, but I genuinely don't know what a child feels like because in my head, I genuinely always had an adult mentality. Like, I would always take myself to the library, and this was from age 8, age 9. Like, I'd always take myself to the library. And that's why I'm so independent. Like, my mum would say, oh, she's too independent. Like, even when we had childminders, I'll battle with the childminders because the childminders complained to my mum, say, oh, she don't want me to wash her, she don't want me to take her to school. She says, I can do it myself. So basically, my mum was like, oh, she was very independent as a child. So I just knew because like obviously like what was going on, it just made me just become very extremely independent. So during the time, obviously like my mum had male friends, but it wasn't any sort of stepdad or anything. It was just male friends, you know how you have uncles and stuff like that. So they were there trying to help her because obviously like, she had so much she was going through, and you know she wasn't really she was really going through a lot by herself. I commend her 'cause I would not even be able to do that with one child. So I don't know how she was able to carry that burden by herself for a long time with so many kids. She's a god. But anyways, yeah, so it was difficult for her. So I don't blame her for anything. And obviously these uncles were there, you know, to support her and to support what she was going through. Because obviously like we had like the social workers come in and the police and everything like that. So then after dealing with personal problems at home and, you know, the school knowing and everything like that, it was just nice to have a fresh start and, like, nobody knowing my business and, like, abuse that was going on at home because the whole school knew and it was so embarrassing. So then after moving to a new school, I felt like I was a new person. I felt like no one knew my business. I felt like it was a fresh start for me. And then I had this uncle who, because I was always like, I always used to go to gymnastics and I would like to do like extra activities. So then there was this uncle, I found him quite strange and we just always used to laugh at him. And he was a good friend of my mum. And when I found him strange is when he would take me to these activities and then he started asking, trigger warning guys, trigger warning. Then he started asking like, can I touch your private part? You know, and I said no, and I was young then, and I was like in the car remembering like, what the hell is this man on about? He's crazy. Then he would always put his fingers down my pants and try and finger me and ask me to sleep with him, and I would say no. And it got like that worst thing where I didn't take him seriously because I felt like he's not aggressive, he's not going to be able to do anything to me, but he would always molest me, like touch me sexual ways, and I was a virgin there, I didn't even start my period. He would molest me, touch my bum, touch my private areas, touch my chest, say, I can't wait for you to grow up. When you grow up, me and you're going to have sex and stuff like that. And it just went on and on like that. And it was a thing where I would always avoid him. But I never told my mum because what she went through and what she was going through was crazy. And like obviously no one took him seriously. So everyone's going to just be like, okay, what are you talking about? And then so it went on like that. When my mum was, you know, not around and he would pick me up from school, then like I'd go to his house and I'll sit in the kitchen just looking for food. And then sometimes he would try and rape me and you know, get aggressive towards me and just like try and sleep with me, and then I'll just leave. I'll just run out of his house and go back to my house because I didn't live far from him. So I'll just leave his house and tell him to not touch me and leave me alone. So it went on and on like that, where every time he'll come around, he'll try and touch me when no one's looking. He'll try and grope me every way he can. He will try and grope me. He'll try and touch my legs, touch my bum, finger me, ask me to sleep with him, try and lay on top of me. Like if I'm in the house, if I'm in a room and he's there and no one's there, he will come upstairs and look for me and just put his body on me and try and take his boxers off and do some just crazy stuff. Yeah, I didn't realise that was abuse. I just didn't know what it was, because obviously like I wasn't a virgin and I didn't have my period and I knew nothing about sex and what sexual stuff was. So I genuinely didn't know. I just said I didn't like it, and it was like a struggle. And so it went on and on and on and on and on like that, and I just felt at that time very disgusting. I didn't like the feeling of it. I didn't like how it made me feel as a person, but I got on with my life, you know, just like a normal kid, going to school, picking my brother up from school, taking him home, just forgetting the key, climbing through the window. Sometimes if I forget the key and I don't have the key, because obviously like I was in primary school, so if I forget the key, I'll just knock on his door. I have to go and stay in his house until my mum comes back. Or if there was a problem, I'd go to his house. And it's just like every time that I needed his help, or every time that he was there to help, like take me to extra activities, I feel like he took advantage of his position. And this man was like in his 50s when I was like 7, 8, 9, 10, you know. So I don't like it. Growing up, it continued. But as women, we never talk about this because people are just fond of saying, oh, you're lying, or you're not telling the truth, or like you don't look vulnerable, like you're thick, you're healthy, you look well fed, you don't look like anything's wrong. That's not true. How can that happen to you? And it kind of just makes you feel like, what is the point? Because it's something that I've had to deal with as a child, and I don't like to think about it because it confuses me. At the time, I didn't like it, but growing up, I got on with my life. And there's many women out there like me who have been through this. So it's not even just one family figure that did this. It was more than one person that was posing as a family figure in my life. It was more than one man that did this to me. Like, I would say 2 or 3 guys have tried to molest. Well, one molested me a lot, and the other 2 tried to molest me. There was another one who was a family friend, and he was found out to be a rapist because he got, I don't know if he got arrested, but he did something to his daughter that was found out, and he tried to do a lot to me when I was younger, like kiss me and stuff like that. So when all these men would come in and out of my life, I would hide in my room, or I'd hide in the cupboard, or I just wouldn't want to be around. And it was a thing where, you know, when you're young, I think back then when I was younger, they don't take things like sexual abuse, domestic violence very seriously. So it was a thing where you just push it away and get on with it. Whereas now, if it was something that happened now, I think it was something that be taken seriously, because now we have YouTube where people have a voice, you have TikTok, you have this, you have that. So a lot of people are not getting away with a lot these days. So when I was younger, I just felt like I was so used, because obviously like I just came from domestic violence, so I was so used to abuse, and I was so used to sorry, in it raw here, guys. So I was so used to abuse, and I was so used to violence that everything that was bad seemed normal. I never thought that good things happen. I genuinely never knew what a good thing was. And growing up, if something that was positive happened to me, I would destroy it and I would sabotage it, because I don't know how to accept something that's good. And when it's good, I try to destroy it because I feel like it's going to be destroyed anyways. So I feel like that's just how it is. Like, I'm just so used waiting. It's quite embarrassing talking about this, but don't worry guys, you're probably embarrassed too. But yeah, it's just something that I had to grow up with, and I just feel like there was no genuine support for women like me. There was no freebies, there was no handouts. There was like, oh no, do you need help? Just get on with life and just continue getting judged by people. So I just never felt like safe around men anymore, and I just didn't like men coming in and out my life. I didn't like uncles, I didn't trust anybody, because I felt like they'll do this, you know, when a man sees a young female and she's got a body and all of that, they just forget the age and they just want to take advantage. And I just felt like it growing up, I didn't know, but until I grew up, and then I was like, oh no, this, I found out that it's not something that's normal, is actually abuse, because I was young and I didn't like it, I didn't want it, I didn't accept it. But I thought that's, you know, I don't know how to explain it. You know, if someone drinks alcohol all the time, the taste of Fanta doesn't faze them because they're so used to being drunk. Alcohol is like water for them, for like an alcoholic. So when you're so used to seeing, like, being in a bubble of negativity, I feel like you feel it's okay, but it's not okay. And then just dealing with that, because I grew up seeing my mum heartbroken and in pain, and because I constantly saw my mum in pain, I felt like anything bad that happens to me, I would never tell her, because I didn't want to put her through much, because what I saw her go through was disgusting. So I was like, if I saw my mum go through hell, why am I going to put my mum through more hell by telling her this and that, you know? My job as a young girl was to protect my mum, and that's what I felt like I always did. I felt like from the ages of 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, I was always protecting my mum. I was always protecting my mum. Sometimes I didn't even want to be in school because it's like I was worried about my mum. Is my mum okay? Is my mum okay? So that's how the type of person I was, always wanted to protect my mum. So anything that was negative, I didn't want to bring my mum. I only wanted to bring my mum good news. Even that's why I forced myself to get a uni degree. I didn't even want to go to uni because I knew that would make my mum happy. So it's like anything that would make my mum happy, that's the only thing that I was doing as a child. It was never like, oh, tell this happened, that happened, that happened. So yeah, growing up, I was sexually molested, sexually abused, and I don't want to get too deep into it because I feel like I'm being real, but at the same time I still don't feel like I'm ready to. I just feel like now as a young person, if you talk about sexual abuse and like all this type of stuff, there's like help available for you, there's different types of support. But like with me, like now, like my age and stuff, is like nobody cares, nobody believes you, you know, you don't feel like, the only thing I can do is just help, share, but you just feel unheard, unwanted, and you start feeling like, is my love life messed up because of my past? Do I feel unwanted because of my past? Do I feel like not loved because of all of this? And those are some of the things that you feel, you know, growing up, not loved, not wanted, not cared for, unheard, and you just don't feel understood. So I know a lot of people are going through this, and it's not like you're young, 14, 15, where people will hear you and help you, you know, like you've gone through this and it's time to move on with your life. But sometimes you can't help but remember stuff that happened. And yeah, I'm gonna continue talking about this topic. It's a bit sensitive, trigger warning. I will talk more on this topic